Welcome to the PR Playbook Podcast with Ranjini Joshua, the only podcast that teaches you how to strategically navigate the world of public relations and social media and grow a powerful brand.
Thanks for joining me for a bonus episode of the PR Playbook Podcast. Today, we're going to talk to John Biggs real quick about the upcoming CES and what's been going on in the media in 2020. John Biggs is a tech journalist and the editor-in-chief of Gizmodo and noted author. And as a prominent name in the tech media, I wanted to chat pretty informally here just to kind of get some ideas and thoughts around what we expect and what we think is going to happen. I know there's a media briefing happening next weekend to really get a download of how CES is going to go. But in this unprecedented shift to virtual, I think a lot of people are kind of trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen. So hi, John. Thank you for joining me.
Howdy.
So, I'd just love to hear, I guess maybe first, let's just, how have you been doing and how's everything been going in 2020? I'm so glad it's almost over.
Yeah, surviving, right? So I remember I had my last trip or anything February, January.
Yeah.
So that was the last time I left the house. I think I was in Dublin or Cork, Ireland, and then I came back. And that was it. We didn't go anywhere, and we didn't go to MWC. We didn't do any of the cool stuff that the reason why you get into journalism is so you can fly around the world and get yelled at by PR people. So
of course. Yep. Yeah. So how has it been? So I think your role with Gizmodo, is that new this year?
Yeah, that's brand new. I think I started there again. I can't even tell what day it is, let alone.
Yeah.
But I started there July, I want to say, right after July 4th or something. It's been an interesting experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it's different. I think all those big tech organizations are quite different. So, but it's nice to see you there. And so as we're diving into, January, usually December is such a busy time for us as PR people, and we just don't know what to do with ourselves. So what are you doing, and what are you thinking for CES? I'd love to hear your perspective on how you feel it's going to go, or how is the media working? Are people setting up interviews like they normally do?
As far as I can tell, we're at a point where CES is, it's definitely obviously all online. They're setting up briefings with companies. My team is working pretty diligently. Obviously we're not going to have the same sort of situation where we take 50 briefings a day. But I still think it's happening just as it normally would. The release process hasn't changed. It's not like we're not creating more junk in the world. So
right.
So why change any of those systems?
Yeah, and how are people? How do you see a lot of companies doing their demos and stuff? Because that's the big part of it, right? You get to see everything in person. It's just not the same virtually. What do you think happen?
I've definitely seen a lot fewer hardware demos for us specifically. You're not going to see as many of those. But then again, they're sending stuff out. We're taking a look at stuff as it comes in. I used to go down to the local coffee shop or whatever and sit down with somebody, and they'd show me a product. Now they either send it out or I look at it on a Zoom, and it's not exactly the same, but it's the equivalent. And most of the bloggers have been working from home anyway for years, so that's not that big a change. But again, it's nice to get out once in a while, and in these everyone's an introvert in journalism, so not being able to do that's kind of tough.
So what do you think? Are you happy to have this little CES break, or are you sad?
A little of both. If I'd never known what CES was, would I miss it? Probably not. I'm happy that I don't have to go this year, but it's kind of sad not going. I think the primary benefit of CES is to maintain relationships, especially with your coworkers, especially now with a lot of online stuff happening regardless. So we're in kind of in a limbo where you can't really see your coworkers, and arguably can't even see your contacts in the product space. Do I miss 50 briefings? Do I miss the crowds? Do I miss the mess? Do I miss the expense? Absolutely not.
You don't miss the steps. That was always the one thing, is like, wow, we have so many steps at the end of the day.
You feel great. But no, actually you don't feel great, because that during the day you've already had like, I don't know, 4 mojitos and like some
Yes.
tacos, and you end up in like a smoky place playing I don't know, whatchamacallit,
Penny
beer pong
Oh,
with your team. But then again, that's kind of why you got into this job, so you can have a little bit of fun while
Yeah.
learning new things on a daily basis, which is the primary goal of most journalists.
Yeah, no, I see that. That's so good. It's good to get those insights. I mean, it's nice for people to try do the same thing as we are, but I am seeing people doing more. A lot of people that I've been talking to, as far as like startups and companies that are releasing new products, it sounds like they're trying to navigate around CES rather than do something like during that week, because there's no need anymore. It's the sense of urgency is lost, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think CES was useful as a source of I don't know, information. It was kind of a mess in that sense. I mean, you had two competing events, like side events, like Showstoppers and Pepcom or whatever.
Right.
Basically, have these two companies, these two things fighting it out for basically the same kind of news. Everyone was going for the same news.
Yeah.
And it just does. It's not imperative that you go to CES, but again, it's putting the human back into the interaction.
Yeah. Do you think, well, I guess it depends on how it goes this year, but do you think we're close to coming back to in person, or do you think it's going to be hybrid moving forward?
I Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I honestly don't know.
I know.
I'm thinking to myself, would I like it to be um would I like it to be all virtual? And I don't think I would.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about just going to a place, going to Las Vegas, even Las Vegas is awful, right? Even if you can just go and enjoy enjoy a beer with a coworker.
Yeah, that's true.
And arguably, I think we're going to have a roaring 20s kind of situation. Once all this is over, everybody's going to want to do everything. There's going to be, I mean, it's going to really go nuts, because I mean, people are going to be thirsty for literally going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what MWC is going to look like with everybody going out to Barcelona or whatever.
Yeah, when you see the crowds at like Target and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, that's the only place they can go. So no, I appreciate your input. I love to hear this perspective. And also, like, it's just I really just don't know what to expect as well. Like, I think everyone's a little bit not confused, but yeah, maybe a little confused and a little bit shocked, because it is such a big shift. And for a while there, I thought it was going to be canceled. So we'll see what happens, I guess, in the coming weeks. But you're right. I don't miss the rush of like having to do so many things like right before, then traveling and being exhausted and inevitably being sick when you came back home, like from all the stress. So yeah, it'll be an interesting experience this year.
Yeah, it's new for everybody, right? And hopefully we don't have to go back to it. Maybe this is the first and last time we ever have to deal with it.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think I definitely think it'll change the way we do conferences, but I bet you they'll be like 50-50 moving forward. I think there's going to be.
Yeah, but I think also you're in a situation where a virtual conference just doesn't have the same impetus. That you can't really sit down in front of your computer and listen to somebody talk about a Samsung phone unless there's some benefit to it. If everybody gets the news, it's not news. And again, this is all very esoteric, and it's not.
Right.
and maybe that shouldn't be the case, and maybe the entire world should know exactly what's happening at exactly the right time. But there's something to be said for being able to be a curator of experience in that sense.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I have a question. Have you attended any events in 2020 that you thought were pretty good virtually?
Not really, quite
No.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, most of the events that I've been to have just had like been riddled with tech problems, which I think I'm kind of, it's interesting to see how far we are in innovation, but like, this online thing just messed everybody up.
Yeah, and I think the generation that's actively doing all of these video calls and everything and doing all these events is not used to an online world.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's olds versus youngs, but it's more like millennial Gen X is still kind of wanting to hang out, whereas Gen Z doesn't really care.
Yeah.
So we're not quite at that point where we can basically flip over to a full VR experience.
Yeah, it reminds me. I don't know if do you remember that movie with Bruce Willis where
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, it totally reminds me of that movie.
Yeah,
But
where we send our avatars out to
right, exactly,
that place.
exactly. Yeah, and I know I've been hearing some companies talk about virtual worlds again. Again, it reminds me of Second Life back in 2007, like just how people were so not against, but they kind of criticized it quite a bit, and now it's like the way we're living. So it's quite interesting how it comes all full circle.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your input, and I think a lot of people will appreciate kind of where you're coming from versus where we're coming from. So
Yep.
this is awesome.
All right, sounds great.
All right, thanks, John. Have a great weekend.
All right, we'll talk to you. Thanks.
All right, bye. Thanks for joining me real quick. In my conversation with John, we just had communicated about CES, and I just thought it would be great to share that information with you and some thoughts around virtual shows this year from the media. If you have any questions for John, for me on media relations at CES this year, please send us a note, ranjini@thesilvertelegram.com. We're happy to jump in and help if you are doing something at CES. Or if you're just wondering, what to do navigating around CES or trade shows or virtual shows this year. Obviously, if you listen to the interview, you can kind of hear that, they really want some more specialized experiences in the media. And I think a lot of these media guys are looking for content that's exclusive, and maybe not just exclusive, but more special to them and really catered for their audience. So consider that when you guys are considering doing PR, media outreach. How is what you're doing specialized to that reporter or that outlet, and how is it really targeting that outlet's target audience? So keep those things in mind and be well, be safe, have a great weekend. Talk to you next time.